iPhone 15 Pro Max after what is over a week now. It's almost 2 weeks with this device. Really like it. Do I want to say it's the best iPhone in years or the most significant jump in iPhone in years? Probably not. To me, that's probably still going to be the iPhone 13 Pro when we're talking about the jump in battery life that device got. But this device took everything that went wrong last year and turned it around. It put together all the pieces into a solid package of an iPhone. The iPhone 13 was fantastic on battery life. This device now cuts the weight down, brings the battery life back, and more importantly, iOS 17 is running well on here and not having a lot of the headaches that I personally had with iOS 16 and even some of those headaches in iOS 15. So as far as a complete package, I think this is the best iPhone in years now when you add in the titanium, and we've gotten a solution for the heating, which we'll talk about in a moment. So let's go step by step with this guy. Let's start with the build. Obviously, that's what got top all the accolades and stuff like that. The titanium, lighter, and all the rest of it does make a difference. If you, like I've said in the video previously, if you were holding off on getting the bigger iPhone in the previous years because of the weight, because let's face it, even Samsung devices, bigger devices, weren't quite as heavy as the iPhone whatever Pro Max of any particular year. Those things were absolutely bricks, chunky, huge. To cut kind of 10% off of that weight is significant. And people, I had that video before. People were saying, well, how much of a difference could that? But it makes a difference. If you're used to carrying these devices around, this is relatively light for its size for a 6.7-inch display. So that's good that Apple was able to do that. And as we see, the heat wasn't necessarily because of the titanium. It was because of a program and Instagram and all the rest of it. And they were able to kind of sort that out. Durability-wise, it's not treated like you would any other device. You're going to put a case on it. If you go caseless, well, then you should have some sort of Apple Care or something like that. Or you're just playing with fire as it is. Even if you had your stainless steel iPhone and you were rocking it caseless, I would still recommend some sort of protection, some sort of Apple Care, some sort of thing that's going to prevent you from pain. Because don't forget, you want to say the stainless steel band was a lot more durable and stuff won't break. Guess what? The glass is still going to break regardless if you drop it and hit it at the right angle. So you're still going to be paying whatever that exorbitant fee was that Apple was charging even to replace the back glass. So don't worry about durability on this. Like I said before, don't go like this and shake your phone until you're about to break it. Don't drop it 20 times over from an overpass, and you'll be fine on that front. Screen. I've never had a problem, and this is where the camera's going to go haywire a bit here. I've never had a problem with an iPhone display. I really think that even when they were LCD, I think they were punching a little bit above their weight. Really beautiful OLED. ProMotion's great. 120 hertz. No issues with that. Brightness is off the charts. One of the things that Apple's absolutely never had issue with is the brightness of the panels. Fantastic. You can see it any sort of daylight, any sort of sunlight that you want to put it in. You're never going to have a problem with brightness on an iPhone, and this is certainly no exception. I love the fact that I could crank it all the way up and not even really need to. There are very few phones, Samsung being one of them this year, the S23 Ultra, where I don't have it all the way cranked up because it's a little too bright, and that's the case here with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Performance, great. A17, no issues, but then again, that kind of goes back and forth to a few different things because, yeah, the A17 is fantastic, but I never really had issue with the A16. I had very few issues with the A15. You want to say that's optimizations. You want to say that iOS really doesn't do very much, and that's why it's never really process intensive, but I like it. I like the fact that the A17 is able to keep pace with everything that you're going to want to do, and it's certainly worthy of the flagship tier that this device is in. That brings me to battery life, which, you saw those complaints early on, and they were often linked with the overheating. People saying, well, it's not getting the battery life that my iPhone 13 Pro got me. It's not getting the battery life that even my 14 Pro Max got me. And that was a device that was worse than the iPhone 13. But while now they've kind of tracked that down. If you have a device that's overheating, you're not going to get good battery life. It's just the way it is. You're going to have inefficiencies. It's going to be too warm. You're going to have all kinds of problems. And it's going to result in a hit to the battery. So Instagram, whatever those rogue third-party apps that Apple discovered, whether it was one of their own. I'm sure they're not going to admit that, but I'm sure there was something in there in iOS 17 itself. But if you had one of those units, once they do the update, you should be getting kind of the performance that everybody else is getting. And besides initial setup, which was warm on this device, I had some warmth here. Initial setup probably got a little hotter than I'm used to on a lot of devices when I was updating, when it was doing its whatever it was doing. It was getting a little warmer than I was used to. So maybe that was at beginning. And then I started seeing those reports coming out of the overheating. I was like, oh boy, maybe I got one. Instantly cooled down after that. And it is running cool. I've not had the warning. I've even had this in sunlight. You remember from years past, iPhones in sunlight do not get along well. If you have an iPhone in your car, in your dash, like hooked up or something like that, it does not play nice. So it'll get warm. For years, you get that warning, get that old stupid triangle on there saying you got to take your phone out of the whatever. If you're using it for turn-by-turn navigation in direct sunlight, it would get hot. Haven't had that issue even in direct sunlight with the iPhone 15 Pro Max this year. So if that was a concern for you, that's something that should be alleviated by that update, and you will get that battery life, which to me borders on 9.5 hours of screen on time. That's no joke. That's hour and not low intensive stuff. You know, the other day I think I did 3 hours of screen turn-by-turn navigation. It still had 65% left. I mean, intensive stuff using GPS, using the 5G, signal strength, all that stuff factored in here, and I'm getting absolutely phenomenal battery life. Let's move to the cameras, because I don't know if it's the lenses themselves. Do I like the 5X? Yes, I'll go ahead and put up some shots of that here. Like the 5X, liked it on the Pixel 7 Pro. I don't think it's something that you'd necessarily upgrade for, but if it comes with the rest of the package, like the larger display, like the better battery life, and yes, then you're getting that 5X optical on top of that, then I think together that's a nice package. So it might be worth upgrading to, especially with the lighter weight. But you can see, love the 5X here. No issues. Well, something that they've done in software automatically is every single picture that you take with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, maybe it's a setting I have on there by default or whatever it is, will immediately be brightened. The processing gets done and it brightens it about 20%. It does it in a way that doesn't blow out the image, so I don't mind it. There might be instances I could see where I'd have to dial it back, because like I said, if it blows out certain elements, if you don't like it, if it kind of over saturates with light, whatever it happens to be, there might be reasons why you'd tone that back. But I do like that if you're going to err on the side of something, I do like that the processing this year errs on the side of a brighter photo. Because that, to me, is the one thing that always is a problem, is these phones, even in medium lighting, forget about dusk, forget about low lighting, I'm talking indoor lighting that's not the best. You know, we were at a wedding over the weekend where it was indoor lighting. It was lit, right? But it was indoors, kind of at dusk. It was cloudy outside, so it was fine for the human eye. But these sensors just have a problem with that. This one didn't. It took that extra second if it needed to go to the night mode, if it wanted the extra 2 seconds. But it was a good image. It added light to it, and it was solid. And I like the fact that that's kind of where the tuning is going to be. Because color, saturation, and stuff like that, that's going to be taste. There's a lot of different things that go into that, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the S23 Ultra in comparison to this, because I took the same photos side by side that I'm going to show you on the iPhone 15 Pro Max with the S23 Ultra. You see the difference there. S23 Ultra is it's a far departure from what Samsung used to do with their images, but it's, again, personal preference. Do you want something that's more natural looking? Do you want something that's a bit more saturated? Or do you want something that's a bit brighter? And iPhone and Apple have gone with a bit brighter on this device. Speakers are good. I always love that. Max volume, no issues whatsoever. Like I said, Wi-Fi significantly improved this year. I don't know how many times I used to have to turn off Wi-Fi on an iPhone because it just wasn't working right. And like I said, it wasn't speeds. It wasn't necessarily connectivity. It was just that it felt like it wasn't paying attention. Sometimes stuff wouldn't load up. It's crazy. So this is significantly better. Wi-Fi 6. Somebody mentioned that they did change the modem, or they're using a newer modem in this device. So you certainly take advantage of that. Plenty more on this device to come. Like I said, the comparison in the next couple days with the S23 Ultra. You know I do those a little differently, so tussle that subscribe button. It's not necessarily direct like Android versus Apple comparison. That's nonsense. It's just hardware to hardware, kind of the feel of each of those and which is going to be better for which customer and kind of what you have in mind when you're looking at a smartphone. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that delicious day.